Hello and welcome to the G3 podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by John, Kevin, and Sam. How's it going, boys?
It's good. Good to be back.
Yeah, it was looking good. As you can tell, I'm in San Antonio. I got traded from Denver with all this trade nonsense. Clearly the biggest asset, greatest big man to be alive, What else can I say?
Greatest big man to be alive. I think you're one of those big men who has to wear the trench coat and have somebody underneath you. So it's a two-person big.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm 6'7". I don't know why you keep saying that.
Okay, trench coat. Man. All right, whatever you say.
Hey, video magic, baby.
We're gonna start this podcast off just right. John, I feel like you have something to say to the people, so why don't we get that over with?
Yeah, I have to issue a formal apology to LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets because on our last episode, I believe that I cursed him by saying, and I believe the exact quote was something along the lines of, "I think LaMelo will be better than Ja because he's going to be less injury prone throughout his career." And not long either before or after the release of that episode, LaMelo Ball fractured his wrist. So I'm sorry for this. It hurt me, not as much as it hurt him. And I hope we can all move forward and understand that I was very excited about LaMelo Ball, perhaps a bit too excited, a bit too eager. And this was the universe apparently balancing that out for me. So I apologize to LaMelo again.
A bit too excited for the LaMelo fans, but also a bit too excited for the supposed Zion fans as well. People think that we have LaMelo higher than Zion. Not entirely sure which one of us said that. But
so let me clear it up very quickly. Basically, what I think that was said on that episode is that LaMelo is, and again, I've cursed him, but his game is built to last, right? Like his game is not built around blinding athleticism and things like that. He is just kind of inherently a lower injury risk because his game involves less high flying crazy shit. He's not as physical, and his game is just being really, really wizard smart on the basketball court and being a great shooter. And Zion, I think we all would agree, is bound to have higher highs than LaMelo Ball. We're seeing that right now with Point Zion, which we'll talk about in the next episode, I believe. But look, Zion's awesome. No shade to Zion. We love Zion. He's incredible, and what he does is great. And I'd be very afraid for my own safety if I had to guard him. But yeah, that's all we're saying is that, we have to be cautious with our optimism for Zion because everything he does scares the shit out of me for his health and the health of the people around him.
I like to equate Zion with a good childhood of Pokemon, where it's Pokemon, the second generation. That gym leader that everybody hates with a passion, the one with fucking Miltank, and nobody can stop the rollout. That's kind of what I view Zion as. It's just you have rollout with Miltank, and then you have Zion coming at just running right at you. Both ways you're fucked. So two very different games. Zion's amazing. There is no denying that. So we have some news for you guys, some NBA updates, as well as some trade updates. Really big weekend, to say the least. I think that I was on my phone for just about half the day during the trade deadline, as much as pretty much the entire podcast. So why don't we start this one out with Myers Leonard being released by the Thunder. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of saw this coming. I didn't really see this as a big shocker, honestly. And really, I just don't care about this. The dude is not the best.
Hey, look, they don't need Myers Leonard there sucking up minutes from their all NBA setter Moses Brown, hopping in there with his first game, throwing up a 2020, just about doing that in the first half almost. They don't need Myers Leonard there to hold him back. This guy's a stud, and I appreciate what he's contributing to my fantasy team this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, John, the fantasy wizard over here. Sam, as far as the Austin Rivers being released by the Thunder and signing with the Bucks, is this actually confirmed? Did he actually sign with the Bucks or is it expected?
I heard it's expected.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how do you view this? Do you see this as really like a big change in the Bucks? Do you think it like kind of boosts them up in your head as far as the playoffs go, or is it just like kind of middle of the pack?
Um, I'm actually really okay with this. I think this is like the replacement George Hill. It's just like a slightly younger version of George Hill for this point. I think he does bring some sort of defensive presence, and that's something that the Knicks didn't need at this point. I think as we see, the Knicks are doing very well, even after signing Austin Rivers. It's kind of surprising because of like Tom Thibodeau and Doc Rivers' relationship back in Boston, and like convincing like, hey, can you sign my son? And he's like, yeah, sure. I can't promise that he'll play, but I can take him. Clearly, that era is over in a short 40, 50 games. But I think this is a perfect fit for him. We saw him back in Houston as being that side gig, maybe higher tier Eric Gordon, who probably should have started but didn't. And I can see him doing the same thing here with the Bucks because that's kind of what they miss. I think the DJ Augustine, Torrey Gregg signings were not a great fit, but something that can support Drew Holiday would be an Austin Rivers. So I'm pretty solid with this.
Sounds good. Really quickly, I'll just go to Kevin and then John. Positive or negative for this trade?
For Austin Rivers?
Or not trade, but for Austin Rivers being on the Bucks.
Yeah, I think it's a positive. I think, like Sam said, I think it kind of like George Hill kind of replacement type player. So not anyone who's going to play 35 minutes a game maybe, but someone who can come off your bench and be that kind of actual little bit of a leader kind of type, who can score points, who can facilitate a little bit. I think he's a good fit. I think the Bucks kind of need to get some more depth in that area too, so I think that helps them.
Okay, John.
Yeah, also think it's good. For a team that so heavily relies on guys like Pat Connaughton, I think they could use any kind of like spark plug scoring they can get. So I think it's a good sign if they get
good. Sounds good. Kevin, we have some big news, baby. And speaking of big, we got Anthony Davis is finally cleared for on-court activities as well as Joel Embiid. I will let you talk about high praises of how excited you are for Anthony Davis. I know that he's cleared for on-court, but I don't think anything has necessarily been said as far as if he is returning anytime soon. What are the positives to this and the negatives to this as far as Anthony Davis coming back?
I mean, I think any Lakers fan will be hyped about this. I think the Lakers have been kind of on a free fall in the standings lately. Not been doing great without AD and LeBron. So I think bringing AD back is a must-have for the Lakers to not fall too deep in the standings in the West. So I think this team, for their own motivation, needs AD back. And then also AD with Drummond, I think, could be a really interesting combo once they kind of sign Drummond and he gets in the regular rotation and things get settled out. Yeah, I'm really excited for AD to get back, especially with LeBron being out now. The Lakers need all the help they can get, so I'm excited.
John, you want to talk a little bit about Embiid coming back? How pumped are we about that?
Yeah, I think it's just like it's awesome that he is like gonna be healthy and okay after that scary fall he took. So yeah, I'm just happy he's gonna be okay. He'll probably be back in the next like couple weeks, maybe like week or two. And I hope he comes back and like returns to the MVP form we were seeing, not just for my fantasy team, but also just for like his, general success. It was really cool to see this happening for him. So I hope he's good to go and, we'll be ready for a good playoff run too.
That'd be fantastic. Sam, our boy Kyrie, well, not my boy, but your boys. He's back from undisclosed COVID protocols. As far as the Nets go, obviously this is a big plus for them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the way James Harden's been playing without, superstar KD, which we haven't seen in a long time, and without all-star Kyrie, I mean, guy's putting up phenomenal stats. This almost the stats he's putting back up in Houston, and I think he's got a much better supporting cast as well. So, I mean, adding one of these guys back into the roster, I mean, it's an easy plus for them. So, Interesting to see what Kyrie's reason was for this reason. Hopefully, it's an actual reason, compared to his other time. Some of us just need a break. As Dennis Rodman, right?
Yeah, right. As Dennis Rodman. You're right. Really quickly, and then we're going to go into the trade updates. Why don't you guys give me a team that you really like right now as far as moving up in the standings? So, Kevin, I'll go with you first. Just name a team that you're really excited about right now for a plus rest of your season.
Do I go with the easy one, or do I try and defend a team that I normally?
Okay, hold up. Did we just let this man defend the Lakers, even though last episodes he was just like trashing on the Lakers not being in the final? That's a little.
What? I don't know.
And then he came in here to say Lakers fans, making it seem like he is not associated with the Lakers fans. I just like to say that. That's all I gotta say.
Kevin's got the clothes. That's all that matters.
Anyway, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. I am not a Lakers hype beast. I don't know. A team I do like right now in the standings and the East. We're not talking about the West right now. We don't associate with that conference right now. I really like Bo. No, I'll just go with one. I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna go. I like the Bucks right now. I think the Bucks are finally getting their shit together after a kind of a rough start to the season. I think even though the Nets and the Sixers are really good in the East, I think the Bucks are finally making those minor adjustments that bring their game just up enough to really be competitive with teams, even a super team like the Nets. And even a team like the Sixers, I think the Bucks really are finally gonna make a run for that top seed, and I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah, hopefully they can pull it off. Sam, I'll go with you next.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think we're with the Portland Trailblazers. I think they could be a 4 seed by the end of all this. I don't know how they got away with the Norman Powell trade. Like, they really gave up nothing. They gave up Gary Trent Jr. I know how many Gary we love in this trade deadline, but this just shows you that Masai Ujiri is a one-trick pony. Throws away DeMar DeRozan, they get a Kawhi who was going to be out anyways. Toronto's a sinking ship for me, but Portland just looks really good. I think they actually found I wouldn't say big three, but they found the perfect three that can actually work together. Norman Powell, who's had one of the greatest 10, 15 games after Kyle Lowry was gone, and Fred VanVleet with all their COVID situations. I mean, perfect fit. Offensive. I don't want to say offensive juggernaut, but offensive juggernaut, honestly, because this guy is a real slasher, and you're not really sure how to kind of guard this guy. So I'm really excited for what Portland's going to do in the postseason.
Hell yeah, sounds good. John, I'm interested to see what you have to say.
I would like to say that I agree about Portland, and but I would also just really quickly like to say, can we just all agree, the top three teams in the East, Sixers, Nets, Bucks, all very good. Mm-hmm. Every other team in the East is a team that would be a 7 seed or lower in the West. 4 seed down, and you can look at their records and confirm it. It's ridiculous at this point. It's really goofy. But so with that said, given the state of the East, I'll go ahead and say that even though we saw the debut looking real sloppy because they haven't gotten to practice yet together, my team rising through the ranks in a terrible conference is your Chicago Bulls. Woo! Owners of 2 all-star players, baby. That's 2, count them. Let's go. Yeah. How many all-stars do the Knicks have? Oh, just Julius Randle. That's cute. We got 2, baby. So Bulls are a 10 seed right now. Look, they're 2 games back from a 9 seed, 3 back from an 8 seed. Obviously, the real choice is that the Heat are going to rise through the rankings. Hornets are going to fall. Mm-hmm. But the Bulls are going to take advantage of both of those situations. I guarantee you the Bulls will be I guarantee they'll be actually a legitimate in the playoffs team and not a play-in. Not a play-in.
Okay, so
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going. We re-up. We got Daniel Tice backing up our boy Nikola Vucevic. That's some playoff experience, baby. You know what that's there for. We finally got rid of the corpse of Otto Porter. Get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? We're rolling deep now. That Vooch and Levine pick and roll is gonna be disgusting. I mean, guys, look, we'll talk about this trade more soon, but yeah, Bulls are gonna shoot up these rankings a bit.
Whoa, hold up. What about Pat Williams? I didn't hear a Pat Williams discussion in an episode.
I feel like talking about Pat Williams is just like it's not even necessary because he's just God tier. Why do we need to bring him up when he's just like the best player in the NBA? Come on.
Talking about Pat Williams is like talking about the air that I breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just always around. It consumes me. It fills me with joy.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're saying. 9 points, 5 rebounds. Yep, I love that.
that starting lineup was very interesting for the first because Pat Williams wasn't playing in the 4 spot. He was actually playing in the 3 spot, which I don't know how long that lasts. I don't know if they end up I don't know like where Laurie plays. I mean, he's obviously going to be starting, but I personally liked seeing Patrick Williams in the 4 spot more.
I mean, shout outs to David Griffin for not doing something foolish and trading Lonzo Ball for Lauri Markkanen. As much as I would like that to happen, David Griffin made the smart choice, held on to Lonzo Ball, who is a very good player, instead of getting Lauri Markkanen, who is still to this day a question mark. Lauri question Markkanen. He has not done anything to make me feel better about his place in our lineup.
Yep. So speaking of the Bulls' greatness, we're going to get right into the trade updates with the very first one, and in my opinion, the best trade to have happened. I mean, the Victor Oladipo obviously is really up there, but let's talk about the Bulls, baby. We got Nikola Vucevic is on the Bulls, 2 All-Stars. Finally, they actually made an incredible move, not just from this trade specifically, but just throughout the entire trade deadline. They did pretty well. Obviously, I know John and I really wanted to see Lonzo on the Bulls, but honestly, like this is pretty solid. So let's talk about this Bulls trade. So the Bulls got Vucevic from the Magic and Al-Farouq Aminu from the Magic. They traded them Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., and 2 future first-round picks. To me, this looks like a fucking steal. And then also there's a part of it where it's just like, hey, Magic, are you guys okay? Like, are you guys doing well right now? Like, you kind of blew up a little bit too much. I think we can officially say that the Magic is just like done with their season and with like the next 5 or so years. So John, why don't we get on that hype train? Let's talk about this trade a little bit.
So I think a hype train is an apt metaphor, and I would even argue that the train maybe even has no conductor, because I am admittedly a little scared, and I have no choice but to be optimistic, because the reverse of that would just be really tragic. I mean, look, Vooch is awesome. This is an all-star caliber player, especially offensively. Defensively, he's a big dude who doesn't move that great, but like he's incredible offensively. This makes the Bulls a better team, like unquestionably. You look at that roster now, like it makes more sense. But here's the thing: Vooch is 30. I think he has 2 years left on his deal, and basically, like if the picks, I think at least the one for 2021 is top 4 protected. So if it goes so terribly wrong this year, there's a chance that we could still like salvage that. But the thing is like, if this team is not making the playoffs, this trade is a disaster. Like that's just how it is. Because then it's like, then you have to wonder like, okay, is Levine gonna want to stay with the Bulls if like this doesn't look good? Like, there's just a lot of things, you know, like this team really is an injury to one of those 2 guys away from continuing to be very bad. So it's just like, if everything goes well, this is awesome. This is a team that, while not going to be a title contender anytime soon, it's at least going to be like a fun playoff team. So, you know, I'm happy about it. I'm really excited to see what it looks like when they get to play with each other more. But it's just like, it is a little bit stressful because those picks are they have the potential to be quite valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're the Magic, look, like, if I'm a Magic fan, I'm like, finally, like they've just finally committed to something. They blew it up. We know we're rebuilding. It's a loaded draft this year that they're probably going to get at least 2 picks in. It's just like, I'm tentatively like optimistic for the Bulls because I think this could be awesome, but it's like, if it goes bad, it goes really bad. So
absolutely, that is 100% the point. I do like this trade specifically just because it seems like there is logic behind the trade, and that's something that the Bulls have been lacking for quite a while. So it's nice to actually see that they're trying to move forward with certain spots. It's sad to see Wendell Carter Jr. go, but I really do hope that he plays really well on the Magic. I think he's going to be maybe better on the Magic just because he's going to be the guy from what it looks like. So hopefully, best for him. Kevin, the next trade we've got your boy, Aaron Gordon, got traded to the Nuggets. I know how excited you are about that one. Let me just break this down, and Kevin, you can evaluate it. So we've got Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and future first-round picks going to the Magic. And then the Nuggets, they get Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark. So why don't you break this down for us? Are you pumped?
I think Aaron Gordon could be a really interesting addition to the Nuggets team, and kind of having another big man on that team besides just Jokic is definitely a plus for them, seeing as the rest of their team definitely feels a little small. Jamal Murray, looking at you. Otherwise, I don't know. I think Aaron Gordon, as much as I like to shit on him, obviously he has experience. He is a good player, but does he add enough depth or enough presence to this team to make them substantially better than what they were last year? I think John was saying this before we started today. They're kind of getting him as this Jeremy Grant replacement, and I don't know if he can fill those shoes exactly the way they want him to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's more of something they're kind of gambling on, that Aaron Gordon will be that guy, and I don't think it's going to turn out that way. But that being said, again, Aaron Gordon is still a good basketball player. He's still going to positively impact that team, and I think for what they gave up for him, I think it's worth it. I think they still win that trade, even giving up Gary Harris and some first-round picks. I think Aaron Gordon's good enough to make up for that, definitely.
So, yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how well he plays on that team. Plus, he's pretty young, or on the younger side, I should say. So that's also nice. That's why younger, I guess you could say. But, Sam, the thing that we were all very much so concerned for Oladipo, this trade is great, and we're all very happy for him. Victor Oladipo finally is on the Heat now. The Rockets, they acquired Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley and 2022 draft pick swap with the Rockets. So why don't we go over this? I think the biggest question is, how is this going to look for the playoff situation for the Heat?
I think it is a clear boost, right? You needed that person that you can be consistently reliable for the Heat. This would be like a Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson. I think they're kind of one-hit wonders, especially in the big playoff game. Sure, it was their first playoff, but I think we've seen a consistency in the playoffs that they can drop 30 points one night and they can drop to 6 the next night. So we're not seeing that consistency, whereas when you have someone like Victor Oladipo, well, I'm kind of so surprised that Indiana traded him. I think they knew that he was going to leave, but I still kind of would have kept him because I think they look really well with them, even playing as that third scorer for that team. Miami's not looking too great. They had a good start before entering the All-Star break, and then they're losing 6 straight. So it's looking kind of rough there for them. But I think someone being more of – we do see Jimmy Butler being the playmaker, but I think we can get Victor Oladipo running off-ball movement and kind of doing that slash into the paint. I think that we can kind of find a good fit for him. So Looking at it from that picture, I think it's a good idea, but I mean, they got to steal. I mean, Miami didn't give up anything. I mean, no one's giving up anything in these trades to get the so-and-so improvement player, but it's good to see that Oladipo is back in a playoff contending team.
As far as just like the overall team of the Houston Rockets, why don't we really quickly just give them a grade on how we think of them as a team? Sam, where you going with this? Yeah.
My boy Caesar, he would drop double arrows there and throw him into the pit at that point. The Houston Rockets are an embarrassment organization. I'll let John go off on this GM because I think he might get some more heat. But on the owner, Tillman Fertitta is an absolute idiot. Stick to your failing restaurants. I don't know. Clearly, you can't fix those issues. So I don't know what makes you think you can lead an NBA organization to be the best. Maybe it's a whole strategy that tanks so far. Maybe you get the top 3 best player, but I still feel like they're going to mess that up. The Bulls had that curse, right? Going for the 3rd pick every time, always get the 4th, and then not get the right guy. And they're just not doing the right thing. They're just playing cheap. I'm sorry. When you get someone from the same organization just upgraded, they have the same culture. Nothing really changes. You have the same culture with that guy. And it's an embarrassment for an organization and kind of a disgracement for the whole city overall. So, Tillman Fertitta, I hope you're out of here soon.
Kevin, do you want to give them a grade really quick, and then John can roast the shit out of him?
D. Clearly making all the wrong decisions. I feel like when I don't know, like every decision they've made this year has seemed to impact them negatively and not help them or their future at all. Like everything they've done. And when you're only 2 games ahead of the Timberwolves, come on. You had James Harden, and then you went from James Harden Rockets to Rockets with literally no star.
And I think we forget also that they started this year with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. John, why don't you give us your grade?
Kevin gave it a D for disaster, and I'll give it an F for fucking disaster. I'm not gonna talk about this because I think I made a point for it for our next episode. I'll really go in then, but because we got a lot of stuff to get to. But look, this is embarrassing. It just doesn't look good. So
it's rough to say the least. Next one, Sam, I'm going to give this one to you because you are the podcast Spurs fan, and Aldridge is leaving your team. The Spurs buy him out with signs with the Nets. Yay or nay? Or how are we feeling about this trade?
First off, to Aldridge, we got 5 rings. That's all I got to say there. But it's kind of sad because I knew we should have traded him last year. I knew the value was going to go down. I think it was going to be this bad. Like, this is like really bad for Aldridge. Like, I don't think he's actually that good of a player. Like, in terms of movement, I think I'd rather have Blake Griffin. I think it's that bad. But I mean, I don't blame the guy. I think he wants to chase a ring, and I mean, where else would you want to go? Join the Juggernauts, right? Maybe he'll have a role because based off the roster, the Nets have 3 stars and then kind of like no one else. So it's kind of barren at that point. So it's a shame by the Spurs that we couldn't get even like I'd even take 2nd round picks. Like like at that point, just take 2nd round, get something out of this. We've been making these mistakes back to back, so that's kind of sucks a lot. But we turned that chapter. Next chapter is DeMar DeRozan. Do you want to keep on or let him go? I'm okay with letting him go. I think he deserves to be in a different position where he's a winning chance. But I do have changed my opinion on DeMar DeRozan. I think he's still got it. I think the guy still has it, and I think he'll be a great contributor somewhere else. But the Nets, I mean, they got a big guy. That's all I can really say. They can get a guy that doesn't play defense. So they're picking up all these guys that don't play defense, and I'm kind of confused. But hey, when you get someone on a minimum veteran, I can't be mad there. So good for the Nets, good for the Spurs.
Sure. Kevin, I'm going to go to you for this one. The Celtics add Fournier in deal with the Magic. I'm going to give this one to you mainly because I don't want to talk about it really. I'm not like hyped about the trade. Like, I think he's a good addition, but it's just kind of disappointing at what they might have been able to get at the start of the season. So Celtics get Evan Fournier and the Magic get Jeff Teague, who will be waived, and 2 future 2nd round picks.
I mean, I think Fournier, like, I think that's a good addition for the Celtics just because they didn't pay anything for him. Like, you're giving up Jeff Teague for an actual good shooter who can consistently score like 20 points a game or 15 points a game or something like that. Like, okay, yeah, I'd give Jeff Teague up for that any day. Like, I think this is the one thing the Celtics did for the trade deadline that they actually got something valuable for. That being said, is it going to push them up enough to actually improve their standings? Probably not significantly. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Celtics needed more offensive tools, especially. And Evan Fournier checks those boxes. So I think, like, Jeff Teague and 2 second-round picks for Evan Fournier? Like, come on. They didn't pay anything for that, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, good for them. Yeah.
I mean, they literally didn't pay anything because they used a $17 million trade exception on him. So,
but to use the trade exception on Evan Fournier, I feel like he could have done better, but it's the Celtics.
I don't think they used the whole exception on him because Jeff Teague's salary was thrown in there. I think they used like part of it on him, and they have some still to use in the off season. It's still like not an amazing look. It's not.
All I'm saying is when you have a very old and decrepit Kemba on the starting lineup, I'm not very happy either way. They don't need him on that team. So let's go to the next one. We have JJ Reddick is out. He's out. John, how are you feeling?
Well, he's in Dallas now. This is great for Dallas. They really missed having Seth Curry there. That shooting was really important to them, actually, as it turns out. So someone like JJ, who started the season really rocky, but he's actually been shooting it a lot better, I think, like the past 15 or so games. So that's really good for them. Luka's going to be able to get him some really nice open shots. JJ's one of the best, like, at moving off the ball and getting himself open. So I think this is great for their offense. Obviously, it's nothing that's, like, huge, but I think it really helps, like, give them a little bit more of at least spacing on offense, which is really good for them. But, yeah, JJ will probably be back in the playoffs this year, so good for him.
The Mavericks also got Nicolo Melli in this trade as well. And the Pelicans received James Johnson, Wes Iwundu.
Good job.
Sorry, I'm so bad. 2021 second-round pick and cash considerations. I mean, in my opinion, I think the Mavericks won this one, but I'm with you on that one, John.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know if there's even a clear winner. I think it's one of those trades that's just like, this was fine. They were gonna have to get rid of JJ anyway, so they got something for him. Yeah.
Okay. We already talked about Norman Powell a little bit today, so we'll move to Sam. Uncle Lou.
Hey.
Get it, baby.
Let's get it. Well earned. I mean, the man almost contemplated retirement. Think about that. That's kind of crazy. Like, he'd want to go back to Atlanta, but he still says he's still got some gas in the tank. I think we still see it. I can ball out. We know that postseason is not his forte, but I think we know that he can still put up I wouldn't say he puts up stats, but I wouldn't say he only puts up stats in one category, and that's points. But I'm still kind of baffled by this trade because I think actually Atlanta won this trade because it's just like you need more of a veteran presence that's not Rajon Rondo, and the emphasis was on Rajon Rondo, right? I think we know that man is no longer as good as we think he is, and I think we need to understand that from last year. The reason he was good is because LeBron James's presence was there. I think LeBron can actually make people very good compared to most. I think that's his actual talent, is that he can make trash players look very good. Any wash player, he can maximize them to their highest potential, which a lot of superstars could not. And seeing Rajon Rondo go to the Clippers, it doesn't really make sense because they just got another wash point guard along with Reggie Jackson. I don't know what the whole situation is, and I think the whole thing is they just don't have money. They really don't have money. They could have gone for Kyle Lowry, and no one did anything about it. So I think Atlanta got a good deal for this, and Atlanta 3 seed. It's going to happen, and by 3 seed I mean 4 seed.
Yeah, right. Kevin, which one do you think is more impactful? Kyle Lowry staying in Toronto or Andre Drummond on the Lakers?
That's tough. I would say Lowry staying on Toronto, just because I think if Lowry left Toronto, that makes them very shaky. I don't think they're going to be doing a whole lot anyway this year. I'd be surprised if they can even make the playoffs at this rate. But I think if they didn't have Lowry, then they would be really, like, they would probably be worse than the Cavs or Wizards if they didn't have Lowry. So I think, but then you could also argue that if they gave Lowry away, then they could kind of tank and get that big lottery pick. So I don't know. But I think Drummond to the Lakers helps the Lakers a lot, but it doesn't take them from like a okay team to a really good team or anything. Like, it takes them from a good team to a slightly better team. Sure. But if the Raptors lost Lowry, it'd take them from a pretty shitty team this year to a garbage bottom 3 team this year.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the trades that have just happened. It's a lot to take in, but it's fun. It's just a damn good time, and I was super excited on the trade deadline. I think we all were. It was wonderful. So next thing we got the game of the week. Last week we had Portland on Miami. Decent game. It was pretty good. I'd have to say pretty solid. Guys, do you want to just run through that really quickly? Sam, I'll start with you first.
I told you guys, CJ McCollum, he's back. All right, that's the guy. 35 points, 8 assists. This team is consistently getting better and better. I think it's better than what we thought would be, especially with all the injuries they've been through. We're just waiting for Yusuf Nurkic, and I think these guys can be a genuine threat. I think they're the most all-around best team in the West, I think, as of right now, in my opinion. And with the Heat, they're fumbling the bag. I mean, they had so many opportunities to take away this game. No Jimmy Butler, obviously, so that could have been a big factor in that point. But enjoyable game, and I think there's a lot more to see from both of these teams.
John?
Yeah, I actually don't have a ton to add. This was a really fun game, though. It was like it was pretty close for the most part, like throughout, which was really cool. Yeah, I agree with Sam. Like the Blazers are a legitimately really good team, and it's tough. It's been the story of Dame's career of just like there's just so many good teams in the West that I don't really know where I don't think I consider them in the standing of like they're gonna make the finals, but I think they're like close to that tier of team in the West, and they're just like they're really solid. Nurkic is back now, I think. It was awesome. Like it was just really, really fun. CJ's great. The Heat, I think, it's going to be really interesting to see them after Oladipo gets back. This is kind of an interesting game too, because it's kind of like the last game we get to see from these teams before they've both like changed kind of in significant ways. Like I think the Norm Powell addition is huge for Portland, and I think obviously the Oladipo thing is like a big shift. So I don't know. It was a cool game.
Absolutely. Sounds good. We're going to go right into the next game. We've got the Nuggets and the Clippers on Thursday. Kevin, I'll start with you. Why don't we run through this as who you think's going to win? The normal, who you think's going to win, who's going to be the MVP, who's going to be the X factor. And I'll go, since I've been like lowballing it with that 220, I'm going to go with the over under on the 235.
I say under 235. Nuggets are going to win by 8.
Okay.
I think. Do the Clippers have a big man that can stop either Aaron Gordon or Jokic? No. I think, hey, the Clippers aren't a bad team. Clippers are good. Don't get me wrong. Paul George is of pro basketball player.
I'm pretty sure Kevin is not like legally at this point allowed to say that Paul George is a good player. I think that's just where we're at right now.
Kawhi is obviously always good, but I really don't think the Clippers have any big man to do anything against Jokic. And now that you have Aaron Gordon supporting Jokic and kind of being that defensive player as well, like I think the Nuggets are going to have a good time this game. I think X factor is Aaron Gordon. I think if he can really come out to play and get into this Nuggets team quickly, I think he's going to add a lot to that team defensively and hopefully on the other end of the court helping out Jokic as another big man.
Sam?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Kevin. Continue.
That was it.
All right, Sam.
This one's tough. It's kind of a toss-up. I think I'm going to go with the Clippers. I think Clippers won by like 4. It's really hard to doubt. I think Kawhi's been under the radar lately, the way he's been performing, and I think that's something to be scared of, at least when it comes to that playoff play. This is the most games he's played consistently without rest, so that'll be interesting to see what to factor, towards the postseason. I think the X factor will have to be Michael Porter Jr. I think I'm wanting him to kind of come out of the shell, and I think maybe the Aaron Gordon duo might be an interesting factor just to see if that could actually work, long term. At some point, I think Jamal Murray will be on the, he's going to be shocked easily. And it'll be interesting to see if that can be more of a consistent duo moving forward. With that being said, I think this score is going to be pretty low, under 235. So I got Clippers in 4.
All right. John?
I think the Clippers will win. I'm going to take the over. And I think that Kawhi will be the MVP. And I think it's going to be a really fun game. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout from the Clippers. Kevin raised a good point, though. We saw what happened in the playoffs between these two teams. I don't know that situation has been remedied all that much as far as like handling Jokic. So, I could totally see that being the case again. But right now the Clippers are hot. I think they've won 5 straight. I'm going to just assume that this team, they look really good. So I'm going to take the Clippers. And I'm also excited to see Aaron Gordon, though. I really think a lot of like Aaron Gordon's defense will make up for how Michael Porter is nothing there. They'll like balance each other out. Basically, like if you combine them, you'd have like one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
But separately, they'll just like balance each other out, I think.
I like that. I'm going to go with the Nuggets. I'm going to do the very rare thing and side with Kevin on this one. I know that probably means that we're going to lose because Kevin hasn't been right, but hey, we got to go for that money, right? I've got Jokic as MVP for this game if the Nuggets do win. Like John said in the playoffs, it's very hard to argue with the results that happened in that series. Jokic was a tank, and it's just an incredible player to watch. The X factor, I think it might be. I think it's going to be very clear that it'll be Kawhi. Obviously, I think he's going to be the one to make or break this game. If anybody's going to win a game for you, it's going to be Kawhi Leonard. He'll win. If he's on fire, then they'll go to the Clippers. I think I like what you said, Sam, about Michael Porter Jr., but I'll have to go with Aaron Gordon on this one. I'm very excited to see how well he plays in this game as well. And I'm going to go with John. I'm going to go the over on this one. I think it's going to be high scoring. It'll be very interesting to watch. All right, folks, that was our game of the week. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast and watching the show on YouTube. You guys can please subscribe, like, share, show us to your friends. They might hate us, but hey, it's great. We love it. Make sure to specifically comment your hate so that we can talk about how wrong you might be. That's fine too. It's great. You guys can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your streaming, your podcasts, obviously on YouTube. And you guys can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. We are at the Deep 3 Pod. Thank you guys so much, and have a good day. Peace.
When the seller becomes a seller. Good job, KD.